Hello friends, so we are at the last stage of OSI model. So here we are going to talk about how the data is actually getting transferred. So we have discussed about different activities at respective layers, but now it is time to actually transfer the data on the wire or on the wireless network. And this is done with the help of wireless pulses or electronic signals. So friends, let's talk about the physical layer. So physical layer is responsible for electrical and mechanical and procedural checks. Data will be converted into binary zeros and ones, and data will be in the form of electrical pulses if it is a coaxial or twisted pair cable, and in the form of light if it is fiber optic cable. So devices working at this layer, the physical layer, are hubs, repeaters, cables, and modems. So, so coming to physical layer, we talk about different devices. It could be wired or wireless medium. So when it comes to wired medium, there are different types of cables available. So these are the fiber optic cables that you can see. And there are Ethernet cables as well, Cat5, Cat6, Cat5e, many other variants of cat cable, that is cat 1 2 all the available cable variants. Some devices like repeaters, hubs, switches, right? So when it comes to physical layer, repeater and hub are the devices which actually work at physical layer. So in the physical network connectivity course, so in the physical network connectivity course, I have discussed all these aspects at length. I taught you about how to crimp a cable, what are the types of cable, like straight through cable, crossover cable, rollover cable. When it comes to fiber optic cable, we talked about single mode fiber, multi mode fiber, and their purpose. So, in short, physical layer talks about the media or the signals in which the data is actually transferred. So before the physical layer, data was in the form of frame, and this frame now gets converted into zeros and ones. So data is in the form of computer language now. When I say computer language, it is in the form of binary language when an on signal represents 1 and a off signal represents 0. So data is now sent across the network in the form of the pulses or the binary format or the signals, whatever you want to call it as. The destination computer receives those signals, and then the subsequent layer actions like frame, then the segment, frame, then the packet, then the segment keeps going on to extract the actual data. So the data flow from the physical layer. So the sequence we have already discussed multiple times. The data here is in the form of segment. At network layer, it is in the form of packet. Data link layer, it is in the form of frame. And at the physical layer, the data is in the form of bits, or you may say signals. And the device that works at this layer is physical, the hub. So activities and attack vectors. So physical medium and electrical optical signaling goes here. Ethernet cables and fiber optic cables are used at this layer. When it comes to wireless, it will be a radio waves in the wireless links. And talking about the attack vectors, somebody may do physical tampering, right? Open out some cable in the outlet, connect his own cable, and try to get access to the network. There is a wiretapping attack. Then the electromagnetic interference is another attack where somebody tries to interfere with your signals. So we talked enough about the physical layer now. There is nothing like Wireshark we need to discuss here because data is in the form of signals. So data encapsulation and decapsulation that we are going to discuss here. So this is the source and this one is the destination. Consider we are sending data now. So whatever activities are performed through application layer to physical layer on the sender's end or the source end, we call the process as encapsulation, and on the destination end, we call this as decapsulation. So, data at the application layer gets attached with the port numbers. I'm revising it again and again for you so that you make those things strong enough in your mind. So data at the application layer, this is the layer where user gets to talk to the computer with some interface, some application, some browser, or it could be any web conferencing tool like Teams, Zoom, WebEx, any tool that helps you interact with the world. So while data is the request is sent out from that particular application, it will attach certain port number so that the destination understand that user is on this application. I need to revert back to that layer. And when I say the layer, it is the specific application port or the protocol used at the application layer. In here in this case, presentation layer, data is converted into computer understandable language. ASCII, EBC, DIC, we talked about it multiple times. Session establishment happens here. Data is segmented, sequenced. The data is in the form of segments. Source IP and destination IP is attached. Data is in the form of the packets. Now, data link layer, data link header, and terminator both are attached. We talked about logical link control and MAC. This is what is happening here. Data is in the form of frame. And finally, it is translated or converted into bits. Now data is sent. Now the process of decapsulation begins here. So bits translated to frame, headers are removed. Now it is in the form of packet. Headers are removed. Now we have the segment, and finally the session number or session ID is recognized, and now the data is in the actual format. So now at the presentation layer, it translates that computer readable language into the user readable language and makes it readable to the end user at the destination end. So friends, now as I said, OSI is a conceptual model. TCP/IP and OSI model, there is no difference. Please keep in mind. Okay, these were introduced in phased manner, and the TCP/IP model is the actual model which got the traction and moved into the practical world, wherein OSI remained as a conceptual model. So it is nothing but the code, right? The TCP/IP suite that manages these transactions, right? Whatever is happening on the internet. So conceptually, these are three different layers when it comes to OSI model. But in actual application, presentation, and session layer is packed into one single layer, and data link and physical is packed into another single layer that we are going to talk about in the upcoming slide. So I hope with this things are now making sense to you, and I'm confident that you have gained enough understanding and confidence about how the data is actually transferring uh, on the wire. So if we compare the OSI and TCP/IP model, application, presentation, and session, these are three separate layers when it comes to OSI model. But while doing a practical analysis on the Wireshark, you'll see that like these are all packed into one layer, right? Again, here this is conceptual bifurcation, right? This is again, it is one layer here. Now coming to data link and physical, this is again one layer in TCP/IP, that is the network access layer, and transport layer remains the same. Network layer is now pronounced as internet layer in TCP/IP. So do not think as if you still need to discuss all these four layers in the TCP/IP model separately. No, you just keep in mind that all these things The first three layers in the OSI model are done within the TCP/IP layers. Transport layer remains the same, network layer becomes the internet layer, and data link and physical layer is treated as a network access layer. So just to recap, if you open a website on your browser, this is my website URL. You can visit the site like this. FTP, you get to see the access to the backend of your website, the folders where actual those, the backend where the actual web pages are stored. Telnet, again, you can telnet to a router with the help of your command prompt. This again happens at one port. Accessing Microsoft website, we discussed about the encryption that happens at the presentation layer. Then accessing your email, again the SMTP communication that you are doing. So with this, friends, we come to the end of this training, and I hope you really enjoyed this training to the fullest.